Is the problem in Dallas purely Jason Garrett?
No, he's going to get blamed for everything, but he has been there. Look, if you've only got one win and you've been a head coach for over 10 years.
One playoff win, yeah.
One playoff win, like, come on. And that's all they. He eventually has to go. I like Jason Garrett. He's
not the
guy,
answer, right?
But
no way. I think that's obvious. He's not the answer. No. Whether he's the problem or not, he's certainly not as the solution. And he's had a decade. And he's gone through a really good quarterback in Tony Romo, and now a bright, good quarterback with Dak Prescott, and it still hasn't happened. And you're watching all these other teams in the NFL reach out to different head coaches and start having some success that they haven't had in the past. And so, yeah, I mean, listen, this offense looks completely different than it did the first 3 weeks of the season. To me, it looks like Jason Garrett has taken over the offense from Kellen Moore.
And I never want to say this because I think it sounds very stupid when talking heads who put on makeup and speak on television say this.
But we look good.
We do. Hey, we do. But the Jason Garrett seems to have lost the locker room. And I say that they just look like a team that's uninspired. They go into this game, it looked like they never really were going to have a chance. There's a time where Jason Garrett comes out on the field with both his hands out like this, and the entire offense
look, here's the video.
His job right by him.
one.
We don't give a damn about you, pal. It's been a decade of average. We can't do it. It just seems like there's something nasty brewing down there in the Cowboys. And behind the scenes, I don't know what it is with Jerry Jones and Jason Garrett and Kellen Moore now. Something has to get fixed because they're going to be forced down our throat on national television every single week. I would like them to be good. I'm just not sure Jason Garrett's the guy to get them.
Can we say something in the interest of fairness? He played this game without the best left tackle in football and another offensive lineman. Amari Cooper played 3 snaps and another wide receiver was hurt. And I know no one wants to hear this, but the Jets are a much better team than they had shown the first or at least the last 3 weeks of the season because they didn't have a quarterback. They have a good defense. I'm not suggesting that this is a loss the Cowboys should be proud of, but I do not think the sky is falling as much as people are making of it based on the fact that they lost to an 0-4 team. That was not a normal 0-4 team yesterday.
Well, I mean, those are valid points, Greeny.
Why are you laughing at
Sean
that?
Payton's been doing it without Drew Brees.
I mean, come on. That's not your average run-of-the-mill 0-4
Well, how many 0-4 teams lose their quarterback to mono?
Look, I called the game. I said the Jets were going to win this thing, but here's the deal, and you're right. Tyron Smith's not out there, and it's not falling. But it's the same old song and dance. I agree with the fact that, look, they're going to make the playoffs. They're going to get on a roll at the end, and guys like me are going to believe in them. You know, they got all this talent, and then they're going to lose in the playoffs immediately.
It's going to be just enough for Jason Garrett to keep his job.
Look, Lincoln Riley's going to get this job. I called it last year. I just missed it by a year.
Don't you want a head coach that's able to overcome losing some? I mean, it's the NFL. You're going to have to coach without your big-time players at some point. We're seeing Sean Payton do it in New Orleans. Like, at some point, your coaches have to help you overcome.
It's always going to come down on the head coach, but I can tell you this. That would be an uncomfortable plane ride. And that's one, if the owner's ever on your plane, it'd be his plane.
Yeah.
And you're on that thing, you pretend that you're asleep. But anyway, I've been there and done that.
What's uncomfortable? What about it is uncomfortable?
No, everything, because right now it's coming down on him. But it's come down on this guy for 10 years. You've at least, 12 years now? You've never fired him, so what the heck? He's going to be like, hey, you're not going to fire me again. This team is not awful. They just happen to get beat this game. They see what it's like when you don't have your left tackle, you don't have your receivers against a good football team. Look, the Jets, I say a good team, a good defensive football team. And by the way, they have a real quarterback. So.
But here's a concerning part, Dan. You watch the video of Jason Garrett, right? And it's become fun Twitter fodder, but you see him trying to get high fives from his boys, and they all purposefully walk right by him and refuse to high five. Has he lost this locker room?
There it is.
And there it is right here. And is that a concern moving forward? Because yes, every October it's pumpkin spice lattes and will Jason Garrett get fired? Obviously it hasn't happened. I mean, that's where we're at.
I can't speak to if he's lost the locker room, but I do know that actions speak louder than words. And I think the actions of that video tell us a lot of what we need to know, right? Like when you as a coach, that game was, what, 3 or 4, that video we just saw was like 3 or 4 minutes left in the game, and it's a one-possession game. The Cowboys are down 8, and he's out there trying in some way to like generate some enthusiasm or energy for his football team, and you are coming off the sidelines and not paying attention to it. That, to me, as an owner, would speak volumes. And again, yes, it is across the board for the Dallas Cowboys, but the number one role or one of the many roles for the head coach is to make sure that everyone else is doing their job. And you would argue that there's not enough people across the board for the Cowboys doing their job, and that's his #1 job.
And maybe the quarterback is one of those. So I will phrase this next part of the conversation in the form of this question. If you were to propose a trade, Sam Darnold for Dak Prescott, who doesn't do it?
Oh, I'd take Sam Darnold in a New York minute.
And you know what? If the Cowboys were smart, they'd make that trade, and the Jets would laugh at the very notion of it. So we're talking about $40 million for Dak Prescott, who, after beating 3 terrible teams as an MVP candidate, there's no one would watch that game yesterday and say Dak Prescott is better than Sam Darnold. No one.
Absolutely right, Greeny. In all the stock that he had built up for himself in the first month, Dak has just been gone in the last month. And I would have never imagined making that comment, that everything he had built up, all the good and positivity that Dak had built up in the beginning part of the season is completely gone. And here's the reality. You can't go to the table and ask for $40 million and then lose on the road to an 0-4 football team. The guy in the booth wouldn't have lost that game. That's the concerning thing for me if I'm Jerry Jones.
Remember, Dan, early in the season, you're like, hey, listen, don't sign anything. And I'm like, oh, hell no. You sign it as quick as you can in case they change their mind, because you want to sign that contract. Well, stock is down on this guy right now.
I just wouldn't imagine it falling so quickly.
I'm with you, but I told him to sign that thing.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports and analysis, download the ESPN app, and for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus.